Welcome to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where today's top influencers and entrepreneurs on the rise share empowering stories and ninja tips to become the fuel that ignites a positive change in your life. Our guests don't simply coast through life. They don't let difficult situations stop them. They set big goals, keep their eyes on the prize, and they're joining us today to share insider secrets you can use right now to step into your power and live your purpose. Now, here's your host, Christy Ruffino.
Welcome, everybody, to the Overcoming Mediocrity Show. This is Christy Ruffino, and I'm excited to have Mark Davis with us today. Hey, Mark, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Good morning.
Good morning. We both got our coffee and tea, and we've got our smiles on, so we're going to have a great time.
Absolutely.
All right. So I am really excited for the audience to get to know you and meet you. I met you on my little tour that I just took recently. We were in Savannah, Georgia together in a mastermind retreat. And I love your mission. I love your story of why you are so focused on, this part of your life right now. And I love your book. I bought it. It's great. I've got a lot of pages dog-eared. So hopefully we'll get to some of the questions I have about what you teach in the book.
Cool.
Actually, I want to start with talking about you and sharing your bio, because you have a lot of experience in different things. And so I think that will give us some context into where you are now. So is it okay if I read your bio quickly?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. So Mark Davis is the author of the book, Burning the Boat, 10 Reasons to Leave Corporate America and Follow Your Dreams. He is a speaker, nonprofit business consultant, and a success coach. You're also ordained minister, which I thought was really cool. You have a bachelor's in psychology, and for 20 years, you've been a leader in change management, working with federal programs and early education institutions. And a Half-Ironman triathlete. Wow, love it. And a proud father of 3 daughters. So there's a lot there. And I'm sure you have a great story, how it all comes together.
I'd love to get back to the triathlete.
Yeah, well.
A minute ago.
I get it. I get that. So what is your story? Why are you so passionate about this? Burning our boats. Why do we need to burn our boats?
Well, for me, it started back. Let me say it didn't start. It really sparked me in 2019. I had the privilege of going to West Africa. Obviously, this was before the pandemic. This was summer 2019. And I went with a group of clergymen and women. And so we toured all over, West Africa and the country of Ghana. And we were there for 8 days. And one thing that really sort of stuck with me is I couldn't shake this sense of feeling. And initially, I didn't know what it was. It took me several days. And it was just these people have a sense of just peace, but purpose and trust. And we're not talking about monetary wealth or lack thereof. I just noticed, honestly, even myself, I said, well, geez, I'm a minister and I'm not operating or living with this type of faith. Meaning if I make quilts or if I make handbags, I'm trusting God every day to take care of me. And, I was making 6 figures and I was getting paid every Friday, and I was still not operating in that type of faith. And so it stirred me up. So the question was in the back of my mind, and on the 13-hour plane ride coming back, by the way, I couldn't rest. And it was what if I lived with that type of faith? What if I really started to do what I really want to do? And between that and some of the self-help gurus that I was studying and following, like the late Bob Proctor, rest in peace, it was really about, we can really get what we want in life, but we've got to operate with a certain level of faith. And so that set me on my journey. I made a decision on that airplane. I think it was June 28th, 2019. I was quitting my job. The second thing that came into my mind, my dad's going to kill me because you don't quit a job with no job. But that really, really stirred me up. And I said, I'm going to make the decision. I'm going to really trust my gifts and start doing what I want to do in life. And so as we're heading toward the end of 2019, this book came into my mind, this concept of burning the boat. And a lot of people sometimes understand what the title really means. Burning boat actually stems from a story. It's in story. Some people call it a folk tale. You may have heard it before, but it's about a general and his troops approaching a battle, and they're on a ship approaching the island where the opposing the army was located. And as they're getting closer to the island, the general and his troops, they realized they were visibly far outnumbered. And so his troops suggested to the general that they retreat in obviously fear because they're outnumbered. And the story goes on to say the general actually said, he actually lit the boat on fire, and he burned the boat, literally burned the ship, and stated to his troops that either we will die on this island or we'll win the battle. And so the concept here is mainly about facing our fears and implementing the faith and courage to move forward. And so that's what gave me the title of the book. And so myself, of course, I was scared because, hey, you leave a job with no job. Not like I had a big pile of money and saved in the bank either. I had my youngest daughter in college. So it wasn't the best timing. I don't think it ever is personally, but it was really about implementing the faith and courage. So I burned my boat. So now this whole concept of burning the boat, I was ready to burn my boat and move forward and give myself the opportunity, just like the people in West Ghana, to trust my gifts, but have that peace and purpose that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so, and now I'm inspired, and I have been inspired, because what gave me the idea of the book, not only this title, I said, I can't be the only one like in the world. I can't be the only one that feels this way. And I'm making good money. I can't complain. I'm doing well. Hey, I got a nice vehicle. Like, I got plenty of airline points and hotel points, and I wear a suit to work, and I look really important. And I've got good benefits. And if I stay, I'm doing well. But I just didn't feel like this is the end. This is my purpose. And so I began to continue to be fired up and say, well, you know what? I've got to do something to share this message to inspire other people who are just like me. And now I've met tons of them, right? Since the book, I've met tons of people who are just like me, I feel like, who said, you know what? It is time to burn my boat and trust my gifts and move forward to doing the things. And so I've got countless colleagues, friends, people I haven't met. So I got your book. Oh my gosh. All across the country, all types of different cultures, genders, age differences, and I'm excited. And that's the purpose of the book. That was the purpose of the book, to give people hope and inspiration, to say that thing you want to do. It happened to come out obviously during the pandemic. But I really think it was timely because we, America, all over the world, we've been reassessing during the pandemic. We've been reassessing life.
Absolutely.
The Great Resignation is one thing. And it's like, money is important, but hey, life is precious. And why don't I do what I want to do in life before it's too late?
Yeah. So, I mean, this really resonates with me completely, and it's completely in alignment with our Overcoming Mediocrity mission. And your first chapter in the book is you've been playing it safe. And how many of us just coast through life, right? We just become numb to the potential out there. And until we put a stake in the ground and step out in faith, even in fear, to do something that may be a little uncomfortable, but is in alignment with what we were created for. Until we do that, we're not doing justice to who we are, why we were created, and how we can help other people in the world. So I really love this.
It's a question. Thank you. It's a question I often ask when I have speaking engagements. I ask to the group. It's just an open-ended question for people to ask themselves, is what does my best self look like? And oftentimes we, including myself previously, we have never asked ourselves or given ourselves the opportunity to say, what does the best Mark Davis look like? What does the best Chrissy Ruffino look like? What does the best Jane Doe, John Doe look like? What does my best self look like? And starting to think about, what does all that include? What would I be doing? And so when I ask people that question, typically they smile. They're like, wow, if I could be that person. And we have the ability to do it. This book is just an inspiration it's a springboard, if you will, to get you there. I use the old analogy. No young baby bird wants to fly, right? They don't want to fly. They don't know they can fly until they're literally pushed out of the nest by the mother bird. And then it's like, we fly.
Yeah.
I think we all have the potential, no matter who we are, where we come from, we have the potential, but it's really tapping into that, but then having the faith to just start walking.
So true. As kids, we start getting told no, and all of our dreams, our big plans, and our sky is the limit aspirations end up by getting really small. And if we could just kind of take ourselves out of that and think about, what does our best self look like? What does our best life look like? What does our best day look like? If we can create any future, whether it be, what we buy, the time we spend with others, how we give back to the community, if we can just have anything happen that we completely desire, and we can do it, right? And we can make the change. We just have to step out in faith, burn the boat,
right,
and take that first step, right?
It sounds cliche, like for a person who left corporate, right? It sounds cliche, but really, I really began to learn, like, this is part of my purpose. This is Mark's purpose. I'm life's cheerleader for everybody to say, you can do it. I'm an example. I'm not the brightest, made plenty of mistakes, got plenty of t-shirts from doing dumb stuff, right? But if I can do it, anybody can. But it's really about having the faith and inspiration to start moving forward. I use an analogy I've shared before on social media. You may have heard the story. So when I started my business, right, I have a friend I befriended. I was all excited, and I said, "Hey, I'm locked in. I got my business. I got my license. I'm starting to build my website." And I said, "Do you have any business advice for me?" He's a longtime entrepreneur, very successful guy. And so he said, "Have you ever seen The Wizard of Oz?" And I'm thinking in my mind, of course, dude. I mean, like, at the time, like a mid 40s, right? Of like, yeah. And so he said, "You know how Dorothy, when she met the Tin Man?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "When she walked a little bit further along, she met the lion." I said, "Yep." Walked a little bit further, she met the Scarecrow. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, yeah, and like, dude, you're insulting me. And he said, the point is, she had everything she needed once she started walking down the yellow brick road. And I said, wow,
that is good.
That was real good business advice. Silly story, but great business advice of faith. And so what his point was to me is like, dude, just start walking. Things will start coming to you. Everything you need will be along your pathway. Just start walking down your yellow brick road. And so we all have a yellow brick road. We've got a pathway that we're scared, right? We're scared, like Dorothy.
Yes.
We're scared. We're not certain. We're just trying to get to Oz. Oz is success in whatever it is we want to do. And so, but we're scared. But we meet people along the way, silly characters. Some will be silly characters, right?
Yeah.
But we have the things that we need. The challenge is that most of us, and I've met other people I've tried to encourage too, is, are we ready to start walking? Are we ready to start walking? And I was, because and again, going back to the pandemic, we owe it to ourselves, which of course, is chapter 4 in the book. But we owe it to ourselves to see our best self, or at least to say, I at least gave it a shot. One question I ask people often is, when I speak as well, is what would your 90-year-old self tell you to do today? What would your 90-year-old self? And again, this is one of these light up moments for people. I've met people before. One lady I'll never forget. She worked in the physician's office, and she said, I would be having my own restaurant. That's what my 90-year-old self. I love to cook. And she said, that's what I would be doing. And she smiled. And I said, that's that thing you should be doing. I'm not telling you to quit your day job like right now, because obviously planning, you have to have plans. Steve Harvey will tell you that, because don't necessarily quit and start sleeping in your car necessarily. That has been the pathway for many of us in some circumstances. But it's all right. Now we know that thing that lights us up. That's what our 90-year-old self would say. At least I gave it a shot, right? At least I gave it a shot. And so that's important. And one of the things I share with people to inspire them so they can start thinking about, this is what's really important to me in life.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break and come back, because I know you have, if there's anybody out there that is resonating with what you're saying, I know you've got some really good strategies to help them take that step. And I also want to kind of just point out the fact that you said, just give it a shot. I mean, we never fail, right? We may have a little bump along the way, right, but if we take that step and we keep taking that step and we keep getting those t-shirts from our failures and we keep going, right, we're going to end up by arriving where we're supposed to be, even though it may not be where we thought originally. Right. You just have to take the step, walk in faith, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Awesome. All right. Hang tight, everybody. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back, and Mark is going to share some of his wisdom on how we can burn our boat. Anyone can network. Yes, anyone can meet people and collect business cards. However, not everyone knows how to network in a way that will provide them with a regular supply of new and repeat business. Treasured Tribes is more than just another networking book. This revolutionary book will show you how to adapt different strategies with your networking efforts that will get you better results than ever before. To grab your copy, visit www.treasuredtribes.com. Welcome back, everybody. This is Christy Ruffino from the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, and I'm here with Mark Davis. Welcome back, Mark.
Thank you.
So one of your chapters, actually chapter 2, is titled, You've Shrunken Yourself to Make Those Around You More Comfortable. and when I read that title, I thought, so true, right? We have a lot of potential, but I think sometimes we fear what other people will think. We fear that we're going to outgrow them. There's just a lot that a lot of stories that we plan our head around that topic of playing it small just to be comfortable ourselves and to make others comfortable. Do you want to touch on that a little?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most pivotal, if you will, chapters in the book, because all of the other chapters are contingent upon us understanding and mastering this concept, right? And really moving forward from this concept of shrinking ourselves to make people around us comfortable. Many of us, including myself, we realize we've got certain talents, right? But we actually, in many cases, the people around us, all right, see our talents also, but don't value and appreciate our talents. That's why it's really important, the people that we spend time with. I'll talk about the circle of 5 in just a moment. But oftentimes we shrink ourselves to say, I see myself here. I see myself doing these things, but you know what? Let me dim my light a little bit, because these people aren't comfortable seeing me in this place or this space. And many of us do that, myself previously included. When I say previously, when you learn better, you do better, right? And so we often do that, and that really prohibits our actual ability to grow, right? And on the contrary, when you have people say, I'm excited to see you in this place, I will help push you into this direction, that's when we're more likely to step into our dreams. So oftentimes dreams are on the back burner because we're worried about the people in our environment and how they see us, and what is their comfort level with us, or lack thereof, seeing us here. And we don't go for it because a lot of times others around us don't see us here. So we just stay with the others, as Pastor Joel Osteen said, hey, we stay with the chickens, even though we know we're an eagle, we're destined to fly high, we've got great vision, but we say, hey, the chicken said, hey, you're one of us, You've got wings. You look just like us, similarly. So stay with us. And that's what we do.
I love the chicken eagle story. I say that a lot on certain topics. But one thing I want to point out about staying small is that the minute we start living into our bigger, better version of ourselves, it's not bad for others. It's actually better, because now we can give them permission to grow as well. And so with our decision to stay small, it's really almost affecting the people around us in a negative way. And we don't really realize it. We're doing more harm than we are doing good.
It is. And but here's the thing. The people that we're closest to may not be ready for some of the things.
Completely.
And in many
Completely.
cases, quite frankly, some people can't handle seeing us in the place and space that we're intended to be in.
Correct.
And so that's why we have to make some decisions about who's in our circle of influence, who's our closest 5 people. You know, are they really, as I say, pushing me into my destiny, or are they pulling me down and weighing on me?
Yes.
And sometimes it's either one or the other. You know, who's in our circle of 5? What does our circle of 5 look like as far as their income potential, or their lifestyle, or their habits, or their vision? Are they visionary people? Do they have goals? Are they planning? Are they working on things? Or are they just living? And you know, the saying goes, if you're not living, you're dying. Not
Yes.
dreaming, you're not living, you're not living, you're not dying. I mean, if you're not living, you're dying.
Right. So I want to talk a little bit about the circle of 5, but before we go there, I do still want to point out that we all have people around us that are not in a place to grow. We're not ready, or they're not ready. They're going to be resistant, but it still is about planting the seed with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's their decision. Just like, you know, when we share our faith, you know, all we can do is plant the seed. It is their decision, and, you know, God, whatever people believe in, will make that next step happen. But even if they are resistant, and they're your biggest challenge, they can turn out to be the biggest success stories that you're proud of, that your example made them turn a different direction. So I don't know. I just think that there's so much around this whole thing that we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to our family. We owe it to everybody that we cross paths with to be our best self. So that way we can kind of be an inspiration to those people, even if they're not ready for it.
And I agree. And I think there's a humility that comes with what we call quote unquote success. And success is defined by each individual. Some people, it's a certain amount of money. Some people, it's my family's healthy. Some people, it's I paid off it looks different for other people. But success, when we look at people successful, I feel like there's a responsibility, as you described, but also there's a humility that comes along with that. And sometimes just demonstrating who you are and just loving on people, and without them asking, they're observing your character, your integrity, and who you are. And that can really inspire them without sometimes having to say anything. Or the fact that you are humble and loving and caring, your actions can mean more than the words you say to a person, that can help propel them, give them some hope, a glimmer of inspiration, and say, hey, you can do it too. That's why I tell people transparently, hey, it's not about smarts, in my opinion, and from what I studied and what I believe. And I tell people, you can look at my undergrad transcripts. I said publicly, I had a 1.9. They rounded me up to a 2.0 and said, yeah, he needs to just
get him out of here.
Yeah. He needs to go on into his destiny. That was the good Lord's hand in it, and say, okay. And so it's not about, you've got to be a super, brainiac to be successful in life. It's really about many of the principles I put in my book, but it's about faith and belief, in addition to other things, and obviously having a plan, right?
Yeah.
To get success. It's not just a USA thing. These are life principles that people just don't know what they don't know. And so when we start to implementing these principles, and it's like, oh, wow, this stuff really works. And so, but for me, I decided that, I don't want to just keep this information to myself, right? The book, Think and Grow Rich, is like, these guys didn't want to die. We're talking about billionaires over 100 years ago, folks like Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, and others, right? And it's like, these people is like, what are they doing that other people aren't doing?
Right.
And that's some of the things that we have to start implementing that can get us to whatever we want in life.
Yep. All right. So I know you've got some principles and some strategies to share, and we're getting close to winding up here, but I want you to really quickly, can you touch on the circle of five? Because I know you mentioned it and you talked about it a little bit, but if I want to have my circle of five, what does that mean and how do I do that?
Just pay attention to who's in your circle. So I'll start with, if you're the smartest one in the room, so to speak, that's typically a problem. I'd like to be, and sometimes we'll be intimidated if we're in our circle, if we're the one who has the least experience or the least amount of, net income or net worth, we're intimidated, but it's a great opportunity to build ourselves, to really grow. And so if we are the smartest one in the room, or if we're the person in our circle that's the most quote unquote successful, so we have to look at changing our circle. Another way to look at it is if you take your 5 to 10 closest people, research suggests this, and if you average their salary, I guarantee you it'll be close to what you're making. So one easy example is, let me, as they say, Dr. Ivan, the founder of Business National Business Network.
Ivan Meisner. Yep.
Right. So he suggests networking up. And so now if we increase, let's say a person or two, let's say just say their net worth is much significantly higher, okay, then by default, by the exercise, this example I just gave, you would typically have a higher average salary. So this is one example, just changing your circle. So what do we learn from people who are millionaires? What do we learn from people who have much higher net worth? It helps us to grow. We can go back to some of the principles in Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles, talks about that. It'll stretch you. It'll provides us opportunities to learn some different perspectives and to implement some different things in our lives when it comes to our circle of five.
I love that. Yeah. I've heard that many times. If you're the biggest person in the room, it's time to get out of the room, right? Find a different room. And I was just in another mastermind with some people that are millionaires, right? Like making, and I felt so out of my league, but I quickly brushed that off and just thought, what am I going to learn from these people? How am I going to have this be a part of my life on an ongoing basis? And so I love what you said about having your income being the average of the 10 people that you are, you're acquainted with in business, because that really gives, hopefully that opens all of us up into a different perspective about networking up with other people. I love that.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into some strategies where, like, the good stuff, we held the good stuff to the end. And I know you can't wait to share. So if I want to burn my boat, if anybody in the audience wants to burn our boat and start living into our purpose, what do we do?
First of all, just start walking. All right. Now that we're walking down the yellow brick road, is we really have to have a clear game plan to say, what is it that I want to do in life? What is it that I want in life? What's that thing? What does success look like for me? All right. Now we have to write down our plan. And then we have to break it down by mini goals, right? So if my plan is to do this, what are my goals for this year, for example, or for the next 2 to 3 years? We literally take an index card. Bob Proctor called them goal cards, okay? And the success principles, Jack Canfield said, hey, write each goal on an individual index card. Write down a few goals, read them every day, read it in the morning when you wake up, put it by your nightstand or whatever, and read it before you go to bed. Simple as that. It keeps it on your subconscious mind, and read those out loud. If you're able to, read those goals out loud at minimum twice a day, even more. Okay, so start doing that. But the other thing is you really have to start looking at your circle of influence, looking at networking up. Okay, as Dr. Ivan Meisner says it in his book, networking up, but also and not being superficial, of course, not being superficial in networking up, but looking at expanding opportunities learn from people who have done the thing or are doing the thing that you want to do. So for example, if you want to be a very successful journalist, then for me, my goal is like, okay, I need to talk to Oprah. I need to be talking to her. Everything that she's done, I need to be talking to her. right? If I want to be filmed, it's like, okay, what did Tyler Perry do? I need to be talking to him, for example. I need to be talking to these people who are the masters and the experts of what they do. If I want to be a physician, I'm going to be talking to local physicians. What do I need to be doing? What do physicians do? What does your life look like? That's what I need to be spending my time with. It's a very simple concept. Bob Proctor put it this way. It's like, find somebody, again, who's done the thing that you want to be doing and do everything that they tell you. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
But we oftentimes have to stretch our faith, our resources, and our circle of influence to do that. Because again, some people really and truly don't see us where God sees us. We see ourselves in a certain place, but sometimes our circle of influence, they don't see us this way. They don't see us this way. You know, I could be transparent. You know, I've got folks that I've used to affiliate with, and they probably didn't see me past drinking beer in the bar, being transparent, you know? And it's like, I didn't want my life to stay that way. So
Right.
I saw myself further. So I just started changing my circle of people around me who wanted more things in life, who were more what we call go-getters. And yeah, I had some intimidating moments being in the room, like you said, with millionaires. And now some of those millionaires, they're in the room with people who are making hundreds of millions. So they're intimidated.
Absolutely.
And that's how it works. So it's a continuum, it's a growth process, but we got to start with planning. And one thing also a lot of people don't do that's really important, it's this term called visualizing. And so just spending time with ourselves, whether it's meditation or whatever, just spending some quiet time alone without this thing here,
Yeah, phone. He's referring to a phone.
Exactly. Spending some time visualizing our goals, where we want to be in life, and you will come up with some great ideas, concepts. But most of us, when we talk about you owe it to ourselves to spend time with our creator, to be able to download some of the goodies that he's got for us.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this has been a lot of good stuff. I love it. This is great. And so I am really excited because I know you have your book, which again, I encourage everybody to get it. You can go to Mark's website, burningtheboatbook.com/book and get it, as well as I believe you've got a free chapter there for people to download, which is great. And you have a free gift to share with our audience here today. You have this really great tool that you put together to help people if they're inspired by what we're talking about or inspired by your concept of burning the boat. So can you tell us a little bit about what this assessment does?
Yep, it's called the Burning a Boat Life Assessment. So myself, a team of a couple of other individuals, a marketing professional experts, as well as a psychotherapist. So we took concepts from organizational psychology, when we talk about people, career and purpose and all these things like that, in addition to understanding who am I and where I want to go, basically. So this life assessment helps us, any individual that takes it, helps us to determine, am I ready to burn my boat, or where I'm at in the boat burning process, right? Mm-hmm. All right, do I need to set it on fire now and let's do it, let's get after it? Or am I say, okay, I'm not quite ready to light the boat on fire right now, but maybe in the next few months or so. And so this assessment will help us to determine where are we at in the boat burning process. It'll give you some indication, some insight, and also some inspiration to start your plan to burning your boat.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I'm going to take it because I really want to see it's free. And I want to see what is in store for me next. So thank you so much, Mark, for joining us today. Again, oh my gosh. So yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure. And if you listened to the show today and you learned anything from Mark, I encourage you to share it with a friend, because we always retain more when we teach others. And if you like our podcast, please make sure you go to whatever platform you listen to and rate, review, and subscribe. And if you want to connect with Mark, we will have all of his contact information in the show notes below. But you could go to burningtheboatbook.com and be connected with all of his resources, from buying the book to taking the assessment or to reaching out to him. I know Mark does you do some coaching, right? Do you do some coaching and consulting? So he's got a lot of great goodies and resources on his site. So thanks again, Mark. And thanks everybody for listening.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where we believe that everyone can have the business and life of their dreams once they've learned the art of mastering their story. Mastering our stories is the key to everything we want in life. Our stories can either hold us back or they can propel us to new heights. We can choose. You can choose. Choose to overcome mediocrity with us. Let's achieve greatness together. To learn more, visit www.overcomingmediocrity.org. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast.